On the morning of June 30, 1908, the sky above the remote Siberian wilderness exploded. A blinding fireball streaked across the heavens, illuminating the early morning landscape with an eerie brilliance. Moments later, an explosion with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs rocked the region. The impact was so powerful that it flattened over 2,000 square kilometers of forest, scorching the land and knocking people off their feet nearly 60 kilometers away. Yet, no impact crater was ever found. What happened that morning in the desolate lands of Siberia? A meteor? A comet? Or something even more bizarre? More than a century later, the Tunguska Event remains one of Earth's greatest unsolved mysteries. In this video, we'll dive deep into eyewitness accounts, scientific theories, and the ongoing search for answers. The Tunguska region of Siberia is one of the most isolated places on Earth. In 1908, it was even more so, a vast, untouched wilderness of dense forests, rivers, and swamps. The region was home primarily to the nomadic Evenki people, who lived by reindeer herding, fishing, and hunting. Most Evenki families were spread out over vast areas, their settlements consisting of small huts and tents. The closest real settlement was Vanavara, a small trading post nearly 60 kilometers from what would soon become the epicenter of one of history's most violent explosions. The day started peacefully. Reindeer herders led their animals through the forests, fishermen prepared their nets, and hunters checked their traps. The Siberian morning air was crisp, and the only sound was the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. Then, without warning, the sky erupted in flames. At around 7:17 a.m. local time, a dazzling fireball appeared in the sky, racing toward the Earth at an estimated speed of 27 kilometers per second. The Evenki people and Russian settlers in the region described the event in chillingly similar terms: a massive column of bluish-white light streaking across the sky, brighter than the sun. One eyewitness, a Russian peasant named Semyon Semenov, described how he was sitting outside his home in Vanavara when suddenly, the sky split in two, and fire appeared high and wide over the forest. The heat was so intense, I felt like my shirt was on fire. I wanted to tear it off, but just then, the sky closed and a mighty thunderclap sounded. The explosion followed almost immediately. The air turned white-hot, and an ear-splitting boom rang across the landscape. The blast was so powerful that it knocked people off their feet, shattered windows, and flattened trees in all directions. People as far away as 900 kilometers from the epicenter reported hearing the explosion. Some thought it was the end of the world. Others believed they had just witnessed a battle of the gods. The Tunguska blast wasn't just a local disaster. Its effects were recorded across the entire planet. The shockwave from the explosion traveled through the Earth's atmosphere, causing barometric pressure changes that were recorded as far away as England. Seismic stations across Eurasia detected vibrations equivalent to a 5.0 magnitude earthquake. But the strangest aftereffect was what happened in Europe and parts of Asia for weeks after the explosion. For several nights, people in London, Paris, and other European cities reported seeing strangely glowing skies. The night was so bright that some people claimed they could read newspapers outdoors at midnight. Scientists later determined that this strange glow was likely caused by fine ice particles or dust thrown into the atmosphere by the explosion, possibly the remnants of a comet or meteoroid. For years, no one dared to enter the Tunguska impact zone. The region was already isolated, and with Russia embroiled in war and revolution, the event was largely forgotten outside of local folklore. It wasn't until 1927, nearly 20 years after the event, that a Soviet expedition led by scientist Leonid Kulik ventured into the blast area. What they found defied belief. The forest was obliterated. Over 80 million trees had been flattened. The pattern of destruction radiated outward from a central point. The trees in the very center were stripped bare but still standing, evidence of a powerful airburst explosion. The soil had been charred and scorched, yet there was no crater, no sign of an actual impact. For Kulik and his team, this was a puzzle. If this was a meteor impact, where was the crater? Where were the meteorite fragments? For decades, scientists have tried to answer one question. What caused the Tunguska explosion? Theory 1. A meteorite explosion. One of the earliest explanations was that a massive meteorite struck Siberia. However, this theory had a major flaw. No impact crater was found. If a rock that large had hit Earth, it should have left a massive hole in the ground. Theory 2. A comet airburst. A more widely accepted theory is that a comet or ice-rich meteoroid entered Earth's atmosphere and exploded before impact. Unlike a solid rock, a comet is mostly composed of ice and dust. As it fell toward Earth, the friction would have heated it up until it vaporized in midair, creating an enormous explosion but leaving no crater behind. This theory also helps explain why there were strange glowing skies across Europe after the event. The explosion could have released ice particles into the upper atmosphere, reflecting sunlight for weeks. Theory 3. A natural hydrogen bomb? Some scientists have speculated that a natural nuclear explosion occurred, a burst of methane gas from the Earth's crust that ignited in the atmosphere. Siberia's swamps are rich in methane, and some theorists suggest that a natural gas explosion, triggered by a lightning strike or another event, could have mimicked a nuclear blast. Theory 4. A black hole or alien encounter. Other theories range from the bizarre to the supernatural. Some researchers have suggested that a mini black hole passed through the Earth, creating a momentary explosion before exiting on the other side of the planet. Others believe that the explosion was caused by an alien spacecraft, an accidental detonation, or even a controlled explosion to prevent a larger disaster. While there's no evidence to support these claims, the mystery surrounding Tunguska continues to fuel speculation. The Tunguska event remains a warning from history. If a similar explosion happened over a major city, the destruction would be unimaginable. In 2013, a much smaller meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia. The explosion, which occurred at an altitude of 30 kilometers, had the force of 30 Hiroshima bombs, and it was only 20 meters wide. Over 1,500 people were injured, mostly from shattered glass. The Tunguska explosion was likely 100 times more powerful. If it had happened over a city like New York or Beijing, millions could have died. This is why scientists today monitor near-Earth objects, NEOs. Space agencies like NASA and ESA are developing plans to detect and potentially deflect dangerous asteroids before they reach Earth. More than a century after the Tunguska explosion, we still don't know for sure what caused it. Was it a comet? A meteor? Something else? Whatever the answer, the Tunguska event stands as a reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in space and the fragile nature of life on Earth.